So Z added Haruta from the anime, and a lot of people were like questioning why Z would even consider adding such an annoying character. I don't think there's a single person who likes this character. So everyone's wondering why Z would add such a character. But before I get into my theory why he would do that, I just want to go over the character. But it's basically a complete character, but I think it's still in early access. So at the end of his M1s, he basically does kind of like the bleed out stab from Naoya's moves. He has a little slicey dicey, which on the floor lets him do a little stabby stab stab stab. He has a backstab where if you actually backstab them, it stuns them for a second. He has a nut kick. He has let me give you a hand and then give me a hand. And then he has a whole second mode, kind of like Rika and Yuta, where if you use your special, it just switches. But he basically lets go of the hand, it crawls on the floor, and two of your moves switch. There's ankle biter, and the other move is up and at him. Instead of blocks, he has these taunts, which gives you miracles. I'll talk about those later. And instead of M1s, he has these really small windows of opportunity for these counter dodges, which also add miracles. How these miracles work is that there's two ways that they can work. Basically, you can use up 3 of them to get an extra evasive along with your evasive bar, and then if you're on the verge of death, it will keep you alive and restore 10 HP. His ultimate is only accessible in the second mode, where his hand is basically free roaming. It does the Nobara punch chin thing where it concusses the opponent, so it basically blinds them, makes them move slower, and disables all of their attacks for just a brief amount of time though. Now I'm going to theorize any reason why Z would add characters like this and Locust Guy. Now I'm actually stealing this theory from another person. I'll put up the video on screen if I can find that now, but it's a completely logical theory and it actually makes a lot of sense. And it's definitely something that other Battlegrounds games can actually take inspiration from to not fail as fast, and it's definitely a big reason why Z has actually kept Jujustu Shenanigans relevant and constantly coming back over and over and over again. It's the fact that Z is releasing these filler characters to begin with, and it's also that these are characters that no other Battlegrounds game about Jujustu Shenanigans actually has. No other character has Kogai or Haruta or even Yuki. Have you seen Yuki in any other Battlegrounds games? But you might be wondering, how are these filler characters the things that keep this game active and constantly relevant? Well, it's the fact that these filler characters are what come between the other characters. These filler characters are what Z releases when the game is still popular, it's still going. It's just a little spoon feeding, but just like rations at a time. But when the game numbers start to drop, that's when he really releases the big characters like Yuta or Choso or Yuki, Higuruma. You get it, right? Adding these big characters is what brings people back in, while adding the small characters is what keeps their attention for a while until they eventually start to dim out, and then he boom! It also just helps keeps the game identity and separate from other games, along with everything else that it offers. Again, what game have you seen that has Locust Guy or Charlie? And to give credit where credit is due, Z does a really good job at making each of these characters really unique and dynamic with their own personal movesets. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm actually just playing a reiteration of a different character that's already in the game. And that's also something that a lot of Battlegrounds games actually fail at, where a lot of the characters just seem like, honestly, nothing special, if I'm gonna be honest. Z always finds a way to make characters that are insanely niche and that nobody was asking for, and somehow actually turn them into a fully fledged character. Like, Locust Guy seems like he is more fledged out in JJS than he is in the actual anime, because he was never supposed to be relevant in any way possible. And this truly speaks for Z's capability and his creativity of making these characters, and obviously it just wants us to add big characters even more, like Toji, Jogo, Kashimo, but we don't get these characters. Now, they're never off the table, but we just don't get them, and Z has actually mentioned why we don't get these characters. It's really just the fact that other Battlegrounds games are already making these characters, and he just doesn't want his game to be like theirs, which again is ultimately why so many other Battlegrounds games fail. If you want, I can make a whole video talking about why JJS is so much more successful than just about every other Battlegrounds games, but I'm not going to focus on that in this video, so I'm going to get back to my actual main point. Also, Z adding in these filler characters just fills up the roster even more and adds more depth of the game's identity, because this game has like 14 characters. characters. That's kind of crazy, honestly. Especially with each character being individual and not like any other character. So to generalize all of that and to break it down, Z doesn't add the big characters all at once because people would have what they want and they would be bored a lot easier. He adds these filler characters to keep us spoon-fed until the game starts to lose popularity, and then he brings it all back by adding the new big character of the game. And again, he also doesn't want to be like other Battlegrounds games, because if he just added all these characters that people want so easily, the game would immediately just lose all of its interest. Even with everything that's in it, characters are half the battle, because these other Battlegrounds games, they just add the popular characters immediately. They don't focus on any more niche characters. They don't try and get creative with it. They just go right for the neck of the big characters of the anime and the manga, and then they immediately die off because, well, the players have everything that they wanted and they lose interest. So Z adding these characters in keeps the interest high, because why would Z add this character? Why would Z add that character? But also, how did he get so creative with it? How did he make it work? How was he able to actually implement this character into his game? And it all just falls under the fact that humans are intrigued by what they don't understand, and we don't understand Z. But yeah, basically this was just a yapping video on why I think Z would add characters, especially Haruta, because nobody likes Haruta. Like, maybe there were a couple people who were intrigued by Locust guy, but they didn't really care too much about him. Nobody likes Haruta. Like, people know about him, people acknowledge him, and they hate him. I have never seen a person under the sun who was liked this thing. But yeah, that's about it. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next video.